Hello, my friends. I'm very happy to be with you this time because once again we have the opportunity to meet, to talk together, and to start sharing some views and some ideas of health and nourishment and improvement and enjoyment, period. So I'm really having a very good time every time I have the opportunity to be welcomed in your homes or workplace or in your car, and you give me the opportunity, the honor of listening to my words. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez in Truth Be Told Radio Network. And I'm very happy that you allow me to get into your lives and try to share points of view of things that I think are important to every one of us. And I really hope that you can share this information with other people and that at least you are going to reflect on many of the things that we say. And you know very well that if you have any question, if you have any doubt, any comment, whatever it is, you can email me, you can Facebook, you can Instagram me, you can Twitter me, you can do any social media of your choice, and of course, Truth Be Told Radio Network, which you can search for it at Spotify. And with that, you can go to over 150 hours of programming and discussions about a lot of different things, from cancer to food to well-being to exercise, you name it. We try to discuss it all because one of my very personal feelings, I have the daring need to tell you, is that we are neglecting our lifestyles, we're neglecting our healths, and we are succumbing to a lot of chronic degenerative diseases that are killing just about the majority of us. Probably 7 out of 10 people are dying of these diseases. That's what the statistics tell us. But you don't have to go to a book. You don't have to Google it. Just look around. Just get to think of the last 10 people you know that died. Just think of that. You say, okay, let's think. Well, I remember my neighbor, I remember my friend, I remember, and then you think, well, he had high blood pressure, he had a heart attack, he had a stroke, he was diabetic, he was overweight, he was, etc., etc. So I don't have to tell you. It is just very common to see that even our friends, co-workers, church members, all of them, when you talk to them, they have a lot of these things. And how many people you know are on chronic medication because of the heart, because of the sugar, because of the blood pressure, because of kidney, liver, you name it, disease. Alzheimer's, which used to be a medical curiosity, right now runs rampant. We have more and more and more people suffering from Alzheimer's, and what good is it if you have money and livelihood and friends and family if you cannot even recognize them? So we're talking about health as the source for enjoyment. If we're not healthy, we're not going to enjoy our lives. So this is very important to try to think about it and to learn about it. And today, I'm going to be talking about something that's very interesting, that's very intriguing, and that has taken me a lot of effort and mental getting ideas together mentally to be able to have something really important to say. We're going to be talking about alcohol consumption. Alcohol consumption is very intriguing, as I said, because we don't have a real clear line. I can tell you flat out. No questions, no doubts, no ifs, no buts, no nothing. That cigarette smoking is terrible. That cigarette smoking is always going to be damaging to the health. That cigarette smoking is going to be doing a lot of problems. That there's no way you can get anything good out of cigarette smoking. That's simple. But when you go to alcohol, the things get a lot more complicated. Why? Because as with any other issues in the medical practice, you can read articles here, articles there, articles over there, and they don't seem to agree on one point of view. They don't seem to say, this is what we think it's good, this is what we think is bad, this is etc., etc. It's not easy at all when you talk about alcohol to get technical scientific opinions together or go in one line as we have it with cigarette smoking. No, here you have a lot of different opinions, not only different, many times opposite opinions. Is it good? Is it bad? Etc. Because that it all boils down to that part. You say, is it good to drink? Is it not good to drink? What benefit can I get, if any, out of alcohol drinking? Or what damage, if any, I'm going to get from drinking alcohol? And of course, the answer is very easy when you talk about alcoholism. That's a different story. Alcoholism is a disease in which the person needs a constant supply of alcohol, that drinks huge amounts of alcohol, and that has a problem staying out of alcohol. It's just like a drug addiction. That person, of course, is going to have health problems. Is going to have mental problems. Is going to be, I don't think anybody has any questions that that person is a sick person with alcoholism as a disease, and they need medical attention. But what happens with the rest of us? Where do I stand? Let's say I finish this radio show with you, or let's say that I visit any of you any of these days and you say, Doctor, what about a glass of wine? What about a beer? We're so used to share social times with some alcohol around that we don't even think about it. We don't have any second thought. You might have second thought with other things that look like a lot more innocent, like let's say a slice of cake or ice cream. You might say, no, I'm counting calories. I don't want to have this much sugar. I'm a diabetic, etc. So even with sugars, we sometimes are more careful. But in general, with alcohol, we're not. And sometimes you say, okay, sure, I'll have a glass of wine. Or how many times you go back home in the evening, you sit down, you sit in your favorite couch and so forth, and you grab a beer. Or you get home, you're ready to relax, you just throw away your tie and your coat, and your wife tells you dinner is ready, and she has a very nice glass of wine. Am I hurting myself in any way? Am I doing the right thing? Yes or no? So it boils down to, is it alcohol bad, or is alcohol good? And the problem is, there's not really a clear answer. So we're going to discuss what you have to look for in order to make it enjoyable, and safe. And something that you're going to feel good with without compromising your health or without compromising anything else. I once again have to say it. There's not a clear line. That's why I thought a lot about talking about this or not. But I have to tell you. Because if nobody tells you, if you don't ever question this, what happens is we tend to believe whatever suits us best. If somebody says alcohol is good because it protects you from heart disease or protects you from some disorders, you say, okay, that's the message I want to hear. And if somebody tells you, no, alcohol is not good because it gradually damages the brain cells and so forth, you don't want to listen to that part, then you don't listen to it. But if you're against alcohol, you're going to use it in an argument. That's sometimes a problem with medical papers, that we listen to the one that we want to hear. Not necessarily we want to make sure we have the truth. So we have to sit down. That's what I did. I have a couple of weeks reviewing medical literature, reviewing arguments on one side and on the other, and doing what I always do. Watch life around me. Because I know that medical papers not necessarily are right, not necessarily tell you the truth. Because I was a doctor, I was already a doctor when everybody started saying that margarine was better than butter. Big mistake. Had I believed all that information at that time, I would have made a lot of bad service to my patients. And all I could think of is, well, if God provided us with milk and dairy products, they have to be good. If God provided us with eggs, how can they be harmful? How can any doctor tell me eat less because they're harmful? Something has to be wrong. And looking for it and believing that God is always right has led me to very good answers that in more than 50 years as a doctor have proven to be right. So don't go anywhere. We're talking about alcohol. Dear friends, we're talking today about alcohol. So you cannot miss it. You cannot miss it because it's a very important subject. We are surrounded by alcohol. Many of us drink, many of us don't drink. Many of us have problems with drinking. Many of us don't know what to do or where to find the answers. And unfortunately, the answers are not that easy. It's not a black and white, as it happens with cigarette smoking, where you can say cigarette smoking is bad, or where you can say this is good. Okay, so cigarette smoking is definitely bad. There's not one bit of anything that you can find beneficial about it. But alcohol is a total different story. I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And you can follow me, you can contact me in the social media of your choice. And we're talking to you through the courtesy of Truth Be Told Radio Network. And you can listen to this program also. We broadcast every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we repeat the program in case you missed it, in case you want to share it to somebody else, every Saturday morning at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. But it goes to Spotify. You know, in this time and age when you have so many resources for media, you can go to Spotify and just search for Truth Be Told Radio Network and choose whatever broadcast you want to listen to and share it with friends, share it with family. You can listen to it on your car's radio when you're commuting and so forth. So we can really be in touch. And I would love if you follow me. I would love to answer any question, and I will love to discuss any comment that you might have about any issue that we talked about. And today we're talking about alcohol because it really takes me a real effort to try to give you an honest and helpful answer. Because alcohol, when you read medical literature, you find literally all points of view. Some people say it's good. Some people say it's very beneficial. Some people say, no way, alcohol is always going to be bad, and so on. So you say, okay, and where is the truth? And every time I have these sort of questions, I tend to go to a higher authority. And that higher authority's point of view, I can read it. I'm going to read it from the Bible. I'm talking about Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that's upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them as food. That's one. But also, and to every beast on the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has a breath of life, I have given you every green plant for food. So it is very important because God gave us every tree that's pleasant to the sight, but that is good for food. In other words, we were provided with the things we should eat. So when things are very natural, I always consider them God-given. We have recently made a blog, a broadcast about sea salt and table salt. And we found that sea salt, which is the natural form, has advantages over the refined factory-made salt. So that tells me that, yes, I'm right, the Bible is right. The more natural you go when choosing foods, the better off you're going to be. So what about alcohol? Let me tell you, alcohol has been with mankind all the time. All the time. Near Haifa in Israel, they found residues of beer that was made, artificially made. It was man-made beer 13,000 years ago. So if you go back 13,000 years ago, you'd not recognize even the foods that we have, but yet we already had some grains. And one of the oldest grains humankind has been able to enjoy is barley. So it's kind of natural that somebody discovered beer. Now, when you ferment food, whereas it's bread or beer or any other fermented food, you do not need to go to the grocery store and buy yeast. No, it's a normal thing in the air. If you leave any food on your table for 2-3 days, you're going to see the activity of these bacteria working on your food. It's natural. It's in the air. And all these bacteria can produce a lot of things. Remember Roquefort cheese, blue cheese? That was the discovery of somebody that forgot a piece of cheese somewhere, and then it got contaminated with this fungi, and it turned blue. And when they tried it, they liked it. So all you have to do is take that fungi over and over again, and now you have a Roquefort chain production. Same with beer. Probably somebody had barley, and might have rained, I don't know. It was mixed with water, and once the yeast came in, started producing the things that we know that they have. Carbon dioxide, that's why you see the bubbles, and alcohol. Actually, it's the same thing that happens with bread. When you put yeast in the bread, in the dough, carbon dioxide makes the little bubbles. That's why it races. It's not racing, it's just being blown up. And as it blows up, then it's going to be bigger and bigger. And when you press on it, poof, the air goes out and it's going to decrease. However, the little holes are going to remain. That's when you take it to the oven, it's fluffy. Because it's not now a solid mass, it's filled with little holes. So with alcohol, we started creating this beer. Some people claim that that's the reason why humankind stopped being nomad and became sedentary, because they wanted to take care of their crops so they could produce beer. One advantage, you don't have to think that they were just being drunk. One big advantage of fermenting beverages is that it's a fantastic way to preserve them. Remember, they didn't have a fridge, they didn't have a vacuum seal, they didn't have any of the modern things we have, they couldn't freeze the food, so they had to think of ways to do it. Which are those ways? Well, you know them because we still do them. You ferment them, you pickle them, you salt the food. You do it a lot with fish, with ham, okay? It's just salt, or plain drying. But you have to think of ways to preserve that food. And beer was one of the ways to preserve beverages. As time evolved, as years evolved, they started fermenting grapefruit juice, and they started developing wine. But one thing is very important, and I have to say this on behalf of our fellow men that live in those years. Water could be contaminated and create disease. Remember cholera? It was a waterborne disease that killed a lot of people. However, when you produce fermentation in a beverage and you produce alcohol, bacteria would not survive in it. That's why people that could afford it would drink beer or wine because it was safe. Drinking water was risky, but drinking wine was safe. That's why nobility drank wine, not water, and that's why for many years the church or the powerful in Europe got control of the wine production. I have to tell you something else, which is very important. When you have a natural beverage like wine or beer, this is going to have a lot more than just alcohol. Number one, some people think, but I just have a beer, doctor. I don't have any spirits. Or I just have a glass of wine, or I just have a glass of beer. Well, it happens to be, and I never thought of that until recently, that no matter what you drink, you're having about the same amount of alcohol, which is 10 grams per drink. You say, why 10 grams, doctor? I only have beer, and that has only 3.5%. Yes, but a beer, you normally drink about 300, 350 mLs. And when you have a shot of tequila or a shot of whiskey, you only have about 30 mLs. But at 40%, you're having your 10 grams. And the wine, it's between. The wine has about 13% alcohol, but we drink about 125. So when you think of the different size of the drinks, the alcohol proportion equals one another. So every time we're having a drink, we're having about 10 grams of alcohol, period. That's why when you are driving, the police is going to ask you how many drinks you had. He doesn't ask you if you had a beer or a shot or anything else, because that's about the alcohol that we get. Now, we go back to the same question. Is that right? Is that good? Or the contrary? It's bad for me. I shouldn't do it. Good answers. Don't go anywhere. I have good answers for you. Dear friends, we're talking about alcohol. So I think it's a very important question, because many of us would love to have a glass of something when we get home, or would have to have a glass of wine with dinner or things like that. And the question is, am I doing right? Am I doing the right thing or not? And the answer is a lot more complicated. When I started looking at this and I wanted to give you answers, I found that it was not an easy answer. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I have been researching all this for a few weeks now, trying to put together everything I knew, or trying to find out more things that have recently been published or discovered, in only to have an answer. As I told you before, I always have this feeling that whatever God provided us with, I shouldn't argue. And alcohol, in a way, is part of the nutritional offer that naturally we can have. Nobody planned on making beer. Nobody planned on making wine. No, in the beginning, nobody was planning to, let's get some beer and let's have a ball. No, it probably was barley left and rained and mixed with water and fermented through the bacteria that float freely in the atmosphere. And when it rained, it had all those bacteria, and that provided us with fermentation of that barley, and that created beer. And then they drank it and they thought, I feel something. Okay, and that was alcohol. It's important to tell you that we're not naturally made to drink alcohol. That's something that very few people know. Alcohol is not, because it's not a normal food, you have to get used to it. Not only you as a person, but also genetically. Europeans have used alcohol for many, many generations. All the Mediterranean cultures, after all, beer and wine come from those areas, from Northern Africa, from Southern Europe, from the Mideast. So those people had to learn, and by learning, by that I mean their bodies had to adjust in order to be able to metabolize alcohol into something that's not harmful. If you put alcohol in a person's body, it's harmful. If you inject alcohol in a person's body, it's harmful, because the body has to detoxify that alcohol. And by detoxification, I mean you have to transfer it into other compound that is not damaging to the body. And that the body has to learn, and learn through generations. And if you have in your ancestry Irish people or French people or Mediterranean people, probably your body can very well metabolize alcohol. But if you're in cultures that were not used to alcohol and you start drinking, you might have serious health problems. And in America, we have two groups that are not used to alcohol, that can hardly metabolize it. One is Hawaiians, and the other one is Inuit people. Inuit people can even die if you give them some alcohol. Those of you that have traveled to northern Alaska or northern Canada and you go to Inuit groups, you're going to see many times signs that says, do not offer alcohol to Aboriginal people because they cannot handle it. They're going to end up in a hospital. They might die because their bodies cannot manage it. So, but those of us that have mainly, again, European ancestry can handle it a lot better and actually enjoy it better. But I was saying that not all drinks are created equal. Beer and wine, and this is again very similar to sea salt versus refined salt. Beer and wine, which are the naturally fermented drinks, are not only alcohol and water. Like beer, for example, has many, many, many antioxidants, which are derived from the barley. And those substances are even heart protective, like flavonoids. And they give you a lot of things that can be making the difference between good and bad. They have other compounds, and those compounds can be beneficial for health. Now, when we talk about beer, we have also more than just the barley. Remember that with beer, we have other ingredients that seem to be also very good, and they can produce, for example, antioxidants as the superoxide dismutase, which is one of the most powerful antioxidants there is, vitamins, polyphenols, phytosterols. These substances are health protective, immune enhancers. So when you have a glass of wine or when you have a beer, you might be doing something that's going to be good for your body. So what is the answer? You have to check your ancestry and you have to see how you react to the alcohol drink. Let's think for a few minutes. What happens when people drink alcohol? And there is the difference. There's the genetic difference. This is the environmental difference. This is the upbringing difference. We respond in a different way, don't we? We have friends that drink and go to sleep. You have friends that you give them a drink and get all excited and happy. But fun, nice. You have people that drink and start crying and get depressed and start complaining about everything. They change their personality. And you have friends that definitely you do not want to see them drinking because they become a real nuisance to themselves and to people around them. What is the difference? The difference is that they have a different make. And the way they're going to detoxify alcohol is different. And they're going to produce different chemicals in the body that can induce excitement or depression or plainly put you to sleep. Or the contrary, make you aggressive, etc. One thing is for sure, when we start drinking alcohol, our own control of many of our functions and many of our mental functions goes under. So we don't have the normal self-control that we would have, that don't shout because there's Mrs. So-and-so, don't do this because we're close to a church, etc. All those self-respect, self-constraining factors are going to go down. So depends on how you react under those circumstances, you can have the first answer. If you're the type that gets overly excited, if you're the type that gets bothersome, if you're the type that gets aggressive, don't drink. You're producing the wrong chemicals. And for that, you need a good friend, a real good, honest to God friend. A one that you can say, when I drink, how do I react? And say without any makeup, without anything, say, I don't think you should drink. On the contrary, some people are fun, some people. But really, really, what I would expect from your drink, because of the moderation and because of your metabolic control of it, is I would expect none of the above. If you have some special response, you should not drink. We're going to drink if, number one, we have a fermented drink and we feel nothing. If anything, we feel relaxation and some sort of well-being sense. We should, of course, keep all our functions, keep all our judgment. Then we might be doing ourselves a favor. One very important thing, I had a teacher that always said, alcohol is not bad. The bad one is the one that drinks the alcohol. Don't drink if you're not eating. Remember that a glass of wine will always go with good food. But if you drink just for drinking, don't do it. It's not going to help you. Alcohol in itself is not helpful for anything. So we have to learn to be moderate and watch ourselves. And ask somebody, again, very honest, very good friend, that tells you, don't do it. You're not really fun. You don't look really good. But if you start losing control in any way, with any amount of alcohol, alcohol is not for you. Once again, you're producing the wrong chemicals. And it's going to get you in trouble. So alcohol should be a benefit. It should make you feel good, never bad, and you should always be able to control yourself. Now, when you go to distill spirits, like whiskey or cognac or any of those things, you're getting alcohol, period. It's like the refined salt on the salt shaker. You're getting sodium, period. Here you're getting alcohol, and unless you really love it, and unless it's Christmas or your birthday, I wouldn't do it. It's not advisable, it's not helpful. It can produce anywhere from gastritis to bad reactions. The amount of alcohol is very concentrated. You still have the same 10 grams with very little water. That's why some people fix it with a chaser or something like that, but don't do it. My advice, if you want to drink, get a good quality beer and a good quality wine. Other than that, stay away from it, and stay away from it if anybody that's around you tells you, don't drink. I'll be right back. I hope you're having a good time. I'm hoping you're enjoying this broadcast, because I am. I love talking about health issues, about good advice that I feel people should have, information people should have, because information is power. And once you have the power to change your life and your lifestyle, then you have the power to create enjoyment and be happy and progress and just be fruitful. and enjoy everybody and everything that's around you. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And once again, I want to invite you to visit our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Ask questions. Any doubt that you have, don't think of it, just type it. You can do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can do it in the middle of anything. You can just Twitter it on your phone and say, hey, what about this? Or what if I drink of that? I'll be very happy to try to give you a very honest answer. And I'll do it right away. Because I love to talk to people, because I know, I swear to God that if we all set to be healthier, we can be healthier. And you owe it to you, and you owe it to your family. You owe it to anybody that loves you, anybody that wants to see you around, everyone that wants to enjoy time with yourself. You owe it to them. That when they look for you, when they invite you, when they tell you, I'm coming, you have the will, the strength, and everything to say, oh, welcome. Yes, let's do it. I'll go with you. Let's go camping. Let's have a barbecue. Come down. We're going to sip a cup of tea. Let's talk about the world situation, whatever. But because you have the disposition, the energy to do it. That's what I like to talk about. Second, because I know that every day that goes by, many lives could be saved if they only listen to this type of message. If they stop to think, what am I doing with my life? I'm drinking too much. I'm eating the wrong food. I'm drinking sugar things, etc. Where am I going? My blood pressure is going up. My waistline is getting bigger. My understanding of things, it starts to go away. My memory is not what it used to be. And all sorts of warnings that we just don't pay any attention to. And you have to rebuild yourself. You have to say, wait a minute, this is like my house. Sit down in your house, sit down in your porch and look at it. And look at the paint, and look at the windows, and look at the glass of the windows. Look at the seat you're sitting on and say, this squeaky, that's rusted, that shouldn't be there. Why don't I start fixing this and fixing that and fixing that? And in no time at all, many times a do-it-yourselfer can do beautiful things. It's just that we don't think about it. We get used to it. You know, I have a niece that lives abroad, and one day came to my house, and we were having a lot of fun, and she started looking around, and then she told me, you know what, Uncle? I think your house starts to show the pass of time. That was a call of attention. Not because I want my house to be sparkling, but that tells you that you're not paying good attention to something very important, because you get used to it. So I sat back and looked at it, and I thought, yeah, I think I could use some paint. I could fix this. I could remove that. I could start doing something to bring my house to where it should be. And I did it. And I was very proud. Like a year later, when she came back, she told me, you've been working on it, Uncle. I congratulate you. And not because of the house, again. It's because that tells you you're putting attention to things that are very important. Sometimes we're paying a lot of attention to who's going to win the World Series. That's okay. If baseball is your fancy, absolutely right. But there are things that are more important. And that's your house, that's your family, that's your own life. So let's keep our attention to where attention should be. And the first and most important possession that we have is our own health, because you are the bread maker. You are the one that provides. You are the one that keeps the family together. You're the one that gets everybody enthusiastic about something. You're the one that organizes this or that. You have to keep on doing it, and you can. Time is not the excuse to do less and less. Quite the contrary. The older you are, the wiser you are, the more you know everybody, and the more you can put things together to please any member of the family. And they're going to say, oh, he always thinks of others. Oh, he always had a good point for anybody. That's what you have to do. But for that, you have to be aware, vigilant of your health. And you don't have to do it all by yourself. You have BioCare. You have me. You have any doctor at BioCare. If you send a message, if you let us know, if you have a question, anything. I have had questions like, should I dye or shouldn't dye my hair? Which, of course, for many people is very important. See? But some people question if that could be unhealthy in any way. Well, you have that question, ask. Because the only way you're going to get answers is if you ask. And at BioCare, we're always sitting together, always, every day, sitting together, discussing what people wanted to know, what the patient told us, what he's worried about, what he's wondering about. Because we always want to provide with good answers. Like today, we're talking about alcohol. And I'm sure that many of you have questions about it. Well, don't ask yourself. Don't ask somebody that doesn't know. Don't ask somebody that's very biased in his answer. Ask somebody that's going to give you a very honest answer and that's going to take into consideration many of the things that I have already told you. What's your genetic background? What is your upbringing? What type of family you belong to? What you drink, how much, what time? If you start putting all those questions together, you're going to be able to manage your life a lot better with alcohol, with sugar, with calories, with fats, with everything. And if you search Truth Be Told Radio Network on Spotify, you're going to find hours of conversation about all these subjects. So you don't have to guess. But it's very important also that you share it. Because when we keep knowledge for ourselves, it doesn't do that much good. It helps you, but doesn't do all the good it could. Because this is like a seed. I get some information, I have to throw it out. I have to distribute it because I know it's going to grow somewhere else. And if it grows somewhere else, we're going to be more and more people that are healthy. In America, we're almost losing the battle. We have more people dying of chronic degenerative disease than people that die of any other cause, including accidents, including things that infections, tuberculosis, things that used to kill people, they don't kill them anymore. Even cars are safer. The possibility of you dying in a car crash is going down. But the possibility of you getting a chronic metabolic disease is going up. So buckle up, so to speak. Get your seat belt And that is by learning how to take care of yourself, how to BioCare yourself. Because if you BioCare yourself, everything is possible. You're going to learn about that. And I want you to learn about that. And I want you to get interested, and I want you to get motivated to start drawing a plan. And once again, BioCare and doctors at BioCare, we all are very happy to listen your doubts, your questions, your plans, and we can help you. We have had people that kick-started a program for 10 days, 2 weeks at BioCare, and they gain strength and a fruitful life with very little effort. Your next vacation, you can think about it. A BioCare health getaway. And say, I'm going to dedicate this time to help myself, to be stronger, to live longer, to be more focused, to improve my brain, and to learn what issues, if any, I should have with alcohol or with sugars or with fats or whatever. I want to learn if my liver has been affected by fatty liver, that they say that 1 out of every 4 people have the problem. So you start learning about yourself. You do a thorough checkup. And more important, you begin solving the problems. You are going to live longer, believe me. You're not only going to live longer, but you're going to live healthier. You're going to enjoy life a lot better. I want to talk to you next week. So please be around. I'll be around for you.